Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, welcome back to the Baseball Head. I hope you like this video and hit that subscribe button. Anybody watching from the first time, I would hope that you do subscribe. We got a lot of information here for you in this video and so many videos for you. So much for you to chew on here at the best Mets fans channel and best Mets fans podcast you can find on the internet. Even though the World Series is going on, this is the beginnings of the trade season and the beginnings of all the rumors behind what players are going to get signed, what players are going to this team, what players are going to that team. And obviously, if you're watching this channel, you love the Mets. You'll see the Mets win. Played great this year. You know, they lost to the Dodgers in the NLCS. But there are now trade proposals coming out from different insiders and just different people just coming up with all kinds of crazy stuff. But here we have, and this is from Sportsnet, and it's just a rehashing of a rumor that happened in the past few days. New York Mets insider proposes an interesting Jeff McNeil trade idea for World Series winning pitcher. Who this is about. The New York Mets will likely try and trade Jeff McNeil this winter, since they will also need to find more starting pitching. An MLB insider recently proposed a trade idea that could do both in one fell swoop. Now, I've talked a lot about over the last month or so, that once we get past the season, that Jeff McNeil is a prime candidate to get moved because the Mets have so many young infielders that are ready to play, like Luis Angel Acuna. Jeb Williams is on the horizon. He's right now playing the Arizona Fall League. He's got off to a very good start. I would mention that Ronnie Mauricio, who we were expecting to be ready for spring training in a few months, he is slowly progressing, according to David Stearns, the Mets president of baseball operations. So he is quite a few, I don't even know how far away he is now. The hope was that in most relatively normal, quote-unquote, rehabs from that ACL injury is fairly quick. I mean, it usually takes a year, but to be this slow is very concerning. The 2024 Mets season was a magical one. Sure, it came to a heartbreaking finish in the NLCS against the Dodgers, but the team took fans on a wild ride over the last few months that they will never forget. But now it is time for them to start making some tough decisions. Second baseman Jeff McNeil was an all-star and won a batting title just 2 years ago. It helped him to land in a sizable extension worth $50 million after the 2022 season. However, his numbers have gone into a nosedive since, and he hit just .238 in 129 games this past season. I would mention he had a very strong second half until he got hurt in September. Late in the year, prospect Luis Angel Acuna showed he could be their future second baseman, and stud prospect Ronnie Mauricio is another option to replace McNeil following his recovery after tearing his ACL last December. I would mention again, his ACL and the recovery is going slowly. It's not going quickly like you would expect. So that is concerning if you're a Ronnie Mauricio fan. I know I am. I'm sure you are. So a lot of people are very excited to see him last year in September. Now, according to this article, because the New York Mets trade Jeff McNeil for Jordan Montgomery this winter. Unfortunately, McNeil's poor numbers in 2024 and his expensive contract make a trade difficult to make. However, earlier this week, New York Post MLB insider Joel Sherman offered up an interesting proposal that would swap McNeil for another National League team's problem. Quote, on the subject of a reclamation project, Jordan Montgomery just had a disaster in Arizona to the extent that owner Ken Kendrick all but said he wants him out of town. To get rid of the $22.5 million owed in 2023, would the Diamondbacks take on the $33.5 million Jeff McNeil has stretched over the next 3 years? Sherman wrote, if I were the Mets, I'd try that. Now, I would not have a problem with that because then you're giving up. I mean, the Diamondbacks would be taking 2 years back. And I would not have a problem giving some money of that McNeil contract. That contract is not a crazy contract. If it's $33.5 million over 3 years, that's about 11 plus million. Stretch that over 3 years. That's not bad for a guy that's won a batting title. and a guy that's very diverse in terms of on the field. He can play left field, right field, second. I mean, he's a good defensive player. He's got good speed. We know what kind of player he is. We've seen him all these years. He's an excellent player. Yeah, so this was a contract extension. So he got 4 years, $50 million, with $32 million left on the deal. After playing a key role in the Texas Rangers World Series win last year, the Yankees veteran was one of the more sought-after players in free agency in the winter. I wouldn't go that far. He remained on the market until March in search of the right deal. But the decision backfired. He ended up having a disastrous debut season for the Diamondbacks. It was so bad. He was so upset. This is Jordan Montgomery. He was so angry about how his free agency went that he fired his agent, Scott Boras, which was an unusual move for players to do that. You don't see that too often, that players who have an agent fired him after that. That's very unusual, especially after that. And he said that having him as his agent was a disaster. The 31-year-old is still in his prime and can certainly turn things around in 2025. He should appeal to the Mets because he has performed well under the New York and World Series spotlights in the past. He may have to fill as many as 3 spots in the starting rotation this winter. I mean, as you know, Jeff is a very interesting player. Like I said, he can play multiple positions. He plays defense at a very high level. He was up for the defensive award 2 years ago for the Gold Glove as a utility player. And he's been a very good hitter in his career. Now, he goes through these stretches where he doesn't hit well. And we've seen that now for the last few years, that he has these bad stretches where he doesn't hit. Now, I felt after he won his first batting title 2 years ago that he would have multiple batting titles in his future, and I think he still does because he doesn't have a long swing. Okay, he's a ball to bat guy, bat to ball guy. He's not a guy that has a long swing. He's not a guy he's not gonna strike out. He makes great contact, and he just needs to sort of. He might be one of these players that could probably use a change of scenery. But he is a fiery guy. We know that. So if the Diamondbacks were to take on him, he's a very fiery guy, and sometimes it rubs his teammates the wrong way. But he plays hard all the time. He wants to win. He wants to get his hits. So one thing about him. Now, Montgomery has been a very good pitcher in that the guy has won big games in the World Series. He's been in New York. I would not have any issues with this kind of a trade. And obviously the Mets would have to give money back in return to offset some of the contract that Jeff has on his deal. So it's kind of and the Mets are taking less money back for 1 year it's a lot of money. But it's not a bad contract for 1 year to have a guy that's been an excellent pitcher in big spots. And the Mets need good pitching if they're going to get back to postseason and get to win the World Series. So for the Mets, this is more about winning a World Series than it is just as much as having a good quality team on the field. And you wouldn't have to give up a lot in terms of just the years. There wouldn't be a lot in terms of the years. That's the one thing. And he would be on a contract year. He would put up big numbers, and he put up big performances. And that's what he did 2 years ago. Last year, excuse me. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. This is a very interesting. I've heard other proposals for different trades, but this is pretty reasonable. The Mets are going to have to get very creative with some of the veteran players that are under contract. He's one, that's Jeff, and Starlin Marte is another guy that the Mets should consider moving. The Mets have talent coming up to the system. Drew Gilbert is getting close to being ready. He struggled this year because he had an injury that curtailed his season. But he also is playing in the Arizona Fall League. He's kind of struggling right now, but he's going to pick it up. Very talented player. He has to play. And obviously, we have Jet Williams on the horizon. Luis Angel Acuna is here. There's Ronnie Mauricio's here. So you got two veteran players that really you have to take a long, hard look at whether you can win without them. They won with them this year, but can they win without them? I think they could and should. Look into seeing what they could do without them. And just get rid of some of the money and take more money off the payroll so they can bring and land in really great players. And that's what you want to do. That's how the Mets are going to win, is with great players. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, hit the subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and I'll see you later.